Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. If you listened last week and you were inquisitive about starting up your own travel franchise, you've got one or two questions you'd like to have answered before you take the next step, then just contact me at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show and I'll see if I can answer the questions for you. The interview I did with Travel Franchise was very interesting. It was for me anyway, because being a former travel agent, it was good to see what they had on offer. And it definitely would have been up there in my top choices in 2004 if it had been around. But if there's anything you want to know about the travel industry, then facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, post your question and I'll get the answer back to you. I'm not connected to any travel company anymore, so it'll just be me giving you a straightforward answer to a straightforward question. There's no selling or anything because I have no involvement. So yeah, it's just in case you wanted to find out more about becoming a travel agent. Anyway, on the show this week, we've got plenty of travel news, including the story of a tourist who got blinded in Greece when she had a spiked drink. And there's going to be some he said, she said stories from Gatwick and Heathrow about the expansion. We're going to find out why they both believe that they should be the airport to expand in the southeast. But before that, I did feature the Faroe Islands on my show a couple of years ago, and I'm going to feature it again this week even, because of a story I'm about to share with you. If you're not too sure, it's a territory somewhere in the North Atlantic. Anyway, the population of 49,000, which is technically part of the Kingdom of Denmark, didn't have much in the way of Google Maps. Google Maps had never been. So to put that right, the Tourist Board decided to put together its own 360-degree views of the destination, and it did that by strapping cameras to the top of some of the sheep on the islands. There's around 80,000 sheep, so there's more sheep than there are people. And they wandered around and they captured much of the landscape, and the project in English is called Sheep View. These videos were posted on the Tourist Board's website, and then an online campaign service to urge Google to visit with its own technology to continue mapping and photographing the country. And of course, Google, for the publicity I guess, has finally sent a team from Google Maps to the island to place it in the Street View world. If you want to see a clip of the sheep cam, or sheep view, and I've been told that no animals were harmed in the making of the clips, then if you go to https://youtu.be/ and this is lowercase ywdqiyo capital Q capital N lowercase g capital Q. And if you didn't get all that, it will be on my Facebook page when this show podcast goes live. So as I said, I did mention the Faroe Islands on a previous show, and I'm sharing it again this week. And as you know, I can't pronounce anybody's name, so I didn't stand much chance with the person I was interviewing from the Faroe Islands via telephone. So, to start with the interview, I think the best thing to do is for her to introduce herself. Could you just explain who you are, please?
My name is Guri Højgaard, and I am the tourism director for these wonderful islands called the Faroe Islands. I recently moved back to the Faroe Islands after living abroad for 20 years. But I was born and raised here, and it's very, very exciting to be working with the Faroe Islands as a tourist destination, because I truly believe in the potential of this destination for the future. It is so authentic and unspoiled, and that's what I think that a lot of people are looking for these days, going back to the basics, but still having a destination that's modern. Mm-hmm. So that's what I find really interesting and appealing about this destination. So,
where are and what are the Faroe Islands?
Well, they're 18 beautiful islands there, and they're placed in the middle of the North Atlantic, in between Iceland and Norway and Scotland. And the Faroe Islands have been a self-governing country within the Danish realm since 1948. And the name is said to be, or mean, the Sheep Islands. That comes from the Sheep Islands. And we actually have more sheep in the Faroe Islands than we do have people. We have about 70 or 80,000 sheep, and we are about 50,000 people.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
What's the weather like up there? Is it chilly?
It's actually not as chilly as you could think it was, because the overall character of the island's climate is influenced by the strong warming influence of the Atlantic Ocean, and that produces the North Atlantic current. So the winters are mild and the summers cool, with an average temperature of 3 or 4 degrees in the wintertime and about 10 degrees in the summertime. It can also be more, but that's the general temperature. So it's it is windy and it's cloudy and rainy, but people don't come here for the weather, but a lot of other reasons. And when it's rainy, our tourists always mention the beautiful waterfalls that we have, hundreds and hundreds, and it's really a stunning view to see that. So this is not Mallorca, but something different.
It appeals to me because I get grumpy if it gets over 10 degrees. I find that too hot, so perhaps I should move up there.
Oh, you should come. I'm sure you would like it.
What's the brief history of the islands?
Well, archaeological evidence has been found of settlers living in the Faroe Islands from the year 400, but it was actually discovered recently, because before we've always thought that there were Irish monks. It was Irish monks that came here first in the early 9th century. And then the Norwegian Vikings came to the Faroe Islands, and so they are actually, the people that live here today actually derive from the Old Norse people that came here. And actually that's why our language derives from the Old Norse language as well, which today is the Faroese language. So, but if you look at the DNA of the people, you can see that the majority of the DNA of the male come from the Norwegians, and the majority of the DNA of the female comes from Ireland. So that tells us something about the way the Vikings came to the Faroe Islands. They took with them some Irish or Scottish women and came up here about 1,000 years ago.
That's quite a mix.
Yeah.
You mentioned about your ancient language. I struggle with English, which is my own language, and I struggle when I go abroad because I can't pronounce anything. Somebody as bad as me, would I still be able to get by, just be able to speak English?
Yeah, definitely. That's no problem at all. I think that the people of the Faroe Islands are very friendly, and they really try their best to, both in English and in other languages like Scandinavian or German and so on. So that's what we always hear from the tourists, and that's certainly not a problem, even though that not everyone speaks English fluently. But people are always said to be very friendly, and they really try to help out and so on. So no worries, you're welcome to come and visit us, and I'm sure that they will take good care of you, all of them.
Oh, good, I hope so. How do we get there from the UK, and how long does it take?
In the summertime, there's a direct flight from London Stansted, and that's I think it's from the 5th of June to last August, 25th of August, I think. And that's on Mondays and Thursdays, and it's operated by the company Atlantic Airways. Otherwise, there is a great connection via Copenhagen throughout the year, at least twice daily. So, but there is only one airline operating to the Faroe Islands, and that is Atlantic Airways. It's a Faroese company. But it's easy accessible to come here. They also fly from Norway and Iceland and so on. But the most easy one is via Copenhagen, as they operate various times a day.
Okay. With somebody from the UK, is there any entry requirements? Do they need a visa or anything?
No, not at all. It's just normal passport requirements as in the EU, and also when it comes to the EHIC card, there's actually an old agreement between Denmark and the UK on health insurance, and I think it's from the 1960s or something. And this agreement is also applicable for the Faroe Islands, and it's still valid. So there are no worries if you get sick in the Faroe Islands.
Okay.
People will take care of you.
When I think about the Faroe Islands, all that really comes to mind is football, because you seem to play Scotland a lot, and whaling. But why would anybody want to visit the islands?
Oh, well, there are plenty of reasons. The Faroe Islands are characterized by an incredibly fresh and clean air and green grass that even grows on the rooftops of people's houses. And there are dramatic landscapes with steep mountains and fjords and rich bird life, coastal villages with colorful houses and clean and tasty water and great food. You'll be able to eat seafood from the cleanest ocean in the world and lamb and well, there are just plenty of possibilities, and there are cozy shops and cafes in the capital and beautiful, beautiful nature on the outlying islands. And there's a good combination of things, I think. And it's a big contrast to the stressful cities of Europe. Mm-hmm. We do have something of those things that people are looking for today, tranquility and mindfulness and finding and discovering yourself again from the stress and traffic jams and so on. This is something completely different. It's like going back to basics, but still in modern, in a modern country.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. For the last couple of shows, I've been sharing some information on how to book and research your flights for yourself. And I did say it can be complicated, but if you take your time and you follow the instructions I shared both on the show and on my Facebook page and my blog at johnguinn.me, then you should be fine. But as I say, every now and again, problems can occur, especially if you're flying in directly. So I found a story from a traveller called James Lloyd, and he came across a surprising flight option when he was searching for tickets from Christchurch in New Zealand to Gatwick Airport. He was using skyscanner.net to find the flights. He did find a flight through Bangkok in Thailand, and it had a layover, which is a wait between the flight you get off and the one you get on, of more than 413,000 hours, or just over 47 years if you want to work it out. So it's just another reminder that you should pay attention, always pay attention when you buy anything online, but especially if you're buying something like a flight. Don't just go for the cheapest option. Do look at the whole flight from A to B to make sure that you're happy with the whole trip. I mean, obviously, waiting for 47 years in an airport probably isn't for anybody. But for everybody even, but I'm sure there's one or two penny pinchers over there who would be tempted to save a few quid on a flight. So, the destination on focus this week is the Faroe Islands, and let's get back to the interview. I'm speaking to Guri from the Faroe Islands Tourist Board. I do hope I pronounced the name correct.